From Olympic City and the home of Pikes Peak, this is the Automotive ADHD Show.
Oh yeah, here we are, rocking it for another great edition of the Automotive ADHD Show. My name is Matt West, here to talk to you about cars. Yep, that is what this show is about. I have a fun show in the works for you, and we're just rolling off of the daylight savings time switch. So we went forward, so we lost an hour. And so that means a little bit less sleep. Yes, you can hear the tiredness in my voice. It's also like 5 a.m. when I'm recording this today because going to a track day. That's why. Got to get up early, go to that track day. Yeah, I know. Track day, bro. Let's get it. But, hopefully the time change isn't too hard on you. And now that said, if you live in another country, you know, this show is heard around the world. If you live in another country that doesn't observe this weird time change nonsense, you're lucky. You're lucky. That's what I figured. I don't know. You know, Arizona, the state of Arizona, dropped this whole time change stuff a while ago. And you know what? They're doing just fine without it. Amazing how that works, isn't it? Now, that said, you know, we drop an hour. You know, we go forward an hour in the spring, you lose an hour of sleep, but that way, that's just so I can give that time back to you in like half a year's time, and then you can thank me later. So, oh man, I don't know. But hey, I got some good stuff to talk about today, though. Going to be talking about the important questions in the world, like how many doors are there? Are there more wheels? Are there more doors? This is a trend that's trying to be answered on TikTok. They're not doing a very good job of it. I'm going to answer this once and for all. Also, speed cameras, well, those are getting more sophisticated, more worryingly. And we're gonna talk about that. And catalytic converter thefts, those are on the rise. And with the conflict in Ukraine, prices for precious metals used in catalytic converters are skyrocketing. We already had a problem with catalytic converter thefts. Now it's even worse, and it hit a little closer to home for me this week as well. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we get through the show. And of course, we're going to hear your car sounds. You got to stick around. And of course, you want to enter your car sounds so I could play them on the show. And you also get entered for a chance to win a $25 gift certificate and the cool is in my opinion, but the Automotive ADHD keychain. So, ladies, gentlemen, TVR Griffiths, let's talk about Ukraine real quick, all right? I did a whole show last week talking about some of the automotive industry response to the conflict in Ukraine. I did a in-depth analysis on it, and if you want to hear my take on that, you got to listen to last week's episode. But this came out about a week ago, and I missed it. This is a brilliant piece of information. The Ukrainian government is telling that citizens who capture Russian military vehicles don't have to report those vehicles as income on their taxes. And so this comes from the Business Insider, and Ukrainian authorities, they're one of their, their version of the IRS, if you will, says, quote, have you captured a Russian tank or armored personnel carrier and are worried about how to declare it? Oh, gosh. They go on to say, there is no need to declare the captured Russian tanks and other equipment because of the cost of this does not exceed 100 living wages, or whatever that means. This is a tax. You know what? I'm not the greatest when it comes to taxes, even here, and this is tax speak in another country, but you know what? We're going to kind of disseminate some of the information, and basically that breaks down to 100 living wages is 248,000 Ukrainian currencies. It's I don't know how to pronounce their currency. It's hryvnia. I'm assuming that's not the correct way to say that, but regardless, that's about $8,300 US dollars, and so they're saying a captured Russian vehicle does not exceed about $8,300, which I would argue the folks who made said Russian vehicles probably spent more than $8,300 on them. But you know what? That's fine, because they are saying, I think they're doing this to encourage people to capture vehicles. So just a fun, interesting piece of information there for you. Of course, the conflict itself is tragic, and again, I won't get into that here. That's a heavy topic. And if you do want to hear my thoughts on how that is involving the automotive industry, last week's episode, if you haven't caught it, you got to catch it. And of course, the fine folks in that country right now, their last thing on their mind is probably the automotive industry. They're worried the least about cars and silly stuff like that right now. So, of course, my thoughts do go out to them. Now, another thing I want to get into here, speed cameras. Yeah, this is everyone's least favorite piece of modern technology. Well, and some places have them, some places don't. Well, there is a new system being implemented. It's being tested right now in New York City and in Knoxville, Tennessee, 2 different locations. And what it is a speed camera that doesn't just get your speed. No, it's got microphones on it. And its purpose is finding loud exhaust. Yeah, see, there we go. I could hear the collective groan, because as car enthusiasts, we like our cars to be a little bit louder. We're not necessarily ripping around everywhere with straight piped, everything, Okay, well, some of us might be going around straight piped, which is fun. But that said, we like our cars to sound a little bit louder. And I'm sure if you're anywhere near the state of California, perhaps you're aware of the noise restrictions and stuff when it comes to that area, where you have police officers with actual decibel meters trying to determine whose exhaust is not stock. There was a great story, about a year ago in California. And by the way, I'm surprised California is not the one doing this with the exhaust sound speed cameras, the speed cameras that also can measure exhaust sound. I'm surprised they're not the first to do this, because about a year ago, there was a story about a gentleman who got pulled over in his Porsche by a policeman for having too loud of an exhaust. And the policeman said, "Sorry, sir, your modified exhaust exceeds what is allowed here in the state of California." And he said, "But it's not modified, it's stock." And the cop said, "Oh, well, that sucks for you. Here's a ticket." That's a long story short. And so even Porsche's stock exhaust was too loud. Like, at that point, what can you do? And what do you do when you get a ticket for that, right? So, you get a ticket and you're supposed to, go to the police and then prove to them that your exhaust, you fixed it, you put it back to stock, it's quiet. But if it's your stock exhaust, what do you do in that way? I don't know. I don't know how that story turned out. That was about a year ago. I didn't hear anything else beyond that. But anyway, back to these exhaust cameras. These are one thing, in my opinion, that are just an extra way of, ticketing people who are already speeding, right? Because they're attached to a speed camera, and the thing with that is, okay, so you're already taking a picture of my license plate, and you're writing me a ticket for a 5 over or whatever, and now you're tacking exhaust onto that too. To me, that just seems like a grab at money. But that said, this is something they are testing. New York City, Knoxville, Tennessee, and there was a gentleman recently on a Corvette forum, a Corvette website, who said that he got one of these tickets and was very surprised. He didn't know that this even existed. Okay, so you got the speeding ticket, and boop, here's a exhaust violation ticket. Now, granted, I'm trying to think of a way where we can all live happily together and have our loud sports cars, but not irritate the people of the world who are just minding their own business, sleeping in their houses and stuff. But now, fortunately, I am in a city that does not have speed cameras in general. And I think the speed cameras themselves, that's a whole nother debate for another day about whether or not those are really ethical, in my opinion. and whether or not they're actually doing any good, and whether or not speeding 5, 10 over is even as much of a problem as they're making it out to being. But that said, this is one of those things you should be aware of this, and make sure when you pass the speed camera that you don't rev bomb it too hard. And also, I do wonder, right? In the world of electric cars and stuff, like with them becoming more popular even as enthusiast machines, I'm kind of curious what'll happen. It's like, well, you can, get a speeding ticket, but you won't get an exhaust ticket if you have the electric car because, it's electric. I don't know. I don't know. But hey, just say here's the thing. You can't say you don't know about it now. It's in 2 cities as of right now. Hopefully not moving to many others. Hopefully not. And we will see where that goes right there. Now, hey, I got more stuff in the works for you on the show. A lot of good things going to be talking about. Also going to be hitting on some stuff about how many doors are there versus how many wheels. What is the true answer? We're hitting those important questions coming up here in just a minute.
Did you know there's a rare but serious condition affecting 1 out of every million? Most are born with it, and despite decades of research, doctors struggle to find a cure. The truth is, thousands of people simply don't know what cars are. For those affected, things are grim, but recent developments show promising success. New clinical trials using breakthrough audio technology have shown a 69% improvement in patients with the most severe symptoms. Treatments vary, but one day we may see a cure. More information is available at throttlewarrior.com.
Oh yeah, there's Tyler's C6 Corvette ripping it. He should probably be careful. Those that exhaust. It's pretty loud. Those exhaust speed cameras. I don't know. Hey man, thanks for sending that car sound in. And by the way, if you have car sounds you would like to send in to be entered for a chance to win the really awesome automotive ADHD keychain. It is dual purpose. It not only holds your keys or is attached to them, but it also lets people know that you have questionable tastes in podcasts. Well, you can send those car sounds in. And of course, I will give you a $25 gift certificate to your favorite auto parts store. I draw the winner for that every single month at the end of the month. We are already getting through March. Can you believe that? It's already the second week. Holy cow. And you know what that means, though, is we're going to be on we'll be getting out of winter soon. We'll be getting to driving season even sooner. And I am really looking forward to that. We've had some chilly, cold weather here in Colorado again this week. It was snowing. It was like -5 for the whole week. And then just out of the blue, yesterday, Saturday, it just warmed up suddenly. 65, sunny. I don't know how this happens. It's a Colorado thing, but today supposed to also be 65. And literally the first thing I'm doing with the warm weather, hitting the track in the crusty, rusty Corolla AE86 and seeing how that does. And hopefully I don't blow it up. That's knock on wood. Yeah, should be a lot of fun. Just like a small autocross event this today again. So nothing fancy. Is early in the morning though, so I hope you're shaking off that daylight savings time switch here. Hopefully you're. See, you can't be short on sleep with the daylight savings time thing. If you just don't get any sleep at all, right? Like if you don't even get any sleep, you can't lose an hour of sleep. So that's yeah, there you go. True life advice for you. So another thing I want to hit on here. This is interesting. So TikTok, as the purveyor of truth and reliable information that it is, I'm being sarcastic, by the way, but the fine folks there are trying to debate right now. This is one of those internet debates that crops up every couple of months. Something new. What color is the dress? What is the person saying? That stuff, right? Well, now the debate is, are there more wheels in the world? Are there more doors in the world? And a lot of people are trying to answer this question. And you see, I'm uniquely qualified to answer this question because I own many cars and I am responsible for both many wheels and many doors. And it's a car show. I talk about cars. It's what I do. So, but I wanted to look into this, right? So a lot of people are arguing that there might be more doors in the world as far as houses are concerned, if you include buildings and things like that. No, we're talking just cars here. Okay, let's put that on the table there. Because there's just no way to know how many doors there are and what constitutes, like in buildings, right? Like what constitutes as a doorway? Does it have to have a door with hinges, or can it just be a doorway? How would you quantify those weird rotating, those rotary door things? How would you quantify that? Also, can you slam a revolving door? I don't think so. So I think a door has to be, for one, slammable. But that said, we're not going to get into the minutia of what counts as a door in a building. I don't care. It's a car show. Let's talk about cars, okay? So and I was doing some research. So typically speaking, a lot of cars have wheels, and usually they have 4. Now, we, of course, have our motorcycle brothers. They were brothers from another mother. They were born with 2 less wheels than the rest of us, but that's okay. We love our motorcycle friends all the same. And the motorcycles was a big part of this, because a lot of people on the TikTok were making a point that, well, there's so many more motorcycles in the world, and, thousands and thousands of them too. You got to count motorcycles. So firstly, let's look at how many cars there are in the world. This is a tough one, but according to carsguide.com, they're saying there are about 1.8 billion cars in the world. That is a significant quantity. And we know all of these cars have at least 2 doors. They might have more, actually. We can go even deeper into this, but I don't even think we have to, because all of these cars assume that they each have 4 doors. We'll assume that they're a sedan, and actually 5 doors, okay? 5 doors, because you might even have a hatchback. So let's assume everything is a 4-door hatchback. That is probably your best case scenario for having the most quantity of doors. And so we have 1.8 billion of those times 5, which I'm going to do this in live time here. I got a calculator up, times 5. That's 9 billion doors. Now, we know that cars have 4 wheels. So let us take that 1.8 billion, okay? And we're simple math here, times 4, 7.2 billion. There you go. 9 billion doors for 7.2 billion wheels. And, well, what about motorcycles? Okay, I get it. The motorcycles don't have doors. In fact, that would be kind of odd if they had doors. You would call that, what would that be called? Is that a rickshaw? What are those, I'm drawing a blank here. It's too early in the morning for me right now. Oh well, you know the ones. They're the motorcycle things that are in like Thailand with the doors, and you ride in the back of them and someone drives them in the front, and you get the idea. You get the idea. But there are an estimated there's a significant quantity of motorcycles in the world. I won't get around that, but there are there's a few of them, but nowhere near as many. The current estimate is there's about 380 million motorcycles. That's a lot less than 1.8 billion cars. And now, granted, a lot of these motorcycles, a lot more of your motorcycles are going to exist in the world in, a lot of Asian countries, Vietnam. They're going to exist in India, Africa. A lot of countries have more motorcycles than they do cars. But that being said, 380 million, here we go, simple math, times 2. 760 million. So you add that 760 million, we'll call it a billion, okay? Let's call it a billion, just round off to it. So that's plus the 7.2 billion wheels. That's 8.2 billion wheels, and here we go. Boom. Again, there's a fact that there are more, roughly, I would say, more doors in the world. Now, sure, some of these cars are sports cars, right? And those only have 2 doors. And some of these cars are semi-trucks, which have 2 doors and a giant trailer with a big door on the back. That's 3. There's the fact is, beyond that, if you want to get the true answer in the minutia beyond that, there's no way to answer that. It's not possible. Now, that said, I mean, how would you even quantify doors on a sports car? What if you have a convertible? Is the convertible top considered a door? I think so. Like my Honda, my S2000, that's really a 3-door because, you have the 2 doors on the side and then the top, which goes up and down, which is a movable object that exposes you to the elements. I would call that a door. So there you go. You heard it here first. Soft tops, removable soft tops are in fact doors. I don't have the true answer for how many doors versus wheels there are, but we have come to the new realization that convertibles count as doors as well, which is going to throw all my calculations wildly off. But there you go. Now you know. Hey, coming up in the next segment, I got some more good stuff. We are going to be talking about catalytic converter thefts and how this one hit a little close to home.
Did you know there's a rare but serious condition affecting 1 out of every million? Most are born with it, and despite decades of research, doctors struggle to find a cure. The truth is, thousands of people simply don't know what cars are. For those affected, things are grim, but recent developments show promising success. New clinical trials using breakthrough audio technology have shown a 69% improvement in patients with the most severe symptoms. Treatments vary, but one day we may see a cure. More information is available at throttlewarrior.com.
Yeah, that's Jamie Hernandez and his Volkswagen Beetle doing some hilarious things. And I played that a few weeks ago, and I just felt that deserved an encore appearance on the show. Jamie, I've been showing that to all my friends like every time it comes up in conversation, and they love it. It's hilarious. That said, I'm making an assumption. Here, which is that you're probably not running a catalytic converter. Yeah, that would probably be, dare I assume that, right? Well, here's the thing. Catalytic converter thefts are substantially on the rise. And a lot of this, they've been on the rise for the past, year, a year and a half. They have been going up substantially. I guarantee you've probably been hearing about them in your own local news. Oh, catalytic converter thefts on the rise. I mean, if you look up catalytic converter thefts right now, you'll see any number of news outlets. KTAR out of Phoenix. Thefts continue to rise in Phoenix. Denver. Catalytic converter thefts on the rise. The business owner had catalytic converters. It's everywhere, right? It's become rampant. And this is one of those things that's hit a little closer to home as of this week. It wasn't me personally, but it happened to my mother. She had the catalytic converter stolen off of her vehicle in broad daylight in front of her house. Now, she's got a nicer house in the north end of our town here. It's not the most expensive neighborhood in the world, but it's a nice neighborhood. And you wouldn't expect there to be much crime going on there. Well, early in the morning, like 7 a.m., and this was caught on security camera, guy rolls up to my mom's vehicle and jumps underneath it. Starts hacking away with the Sawzall, gets one of the catalytic converters. Now, my mom had chased him away. She heard this going down. A neighbor texted her and said, "Hey, there's a dude under your car." And she ran out there yelling at this guy and chased him off. So good on my mother for doing that. But the dude managed to steal one of the cats. There were two cats on her car. And he managed to steal one of them and saw halfway through the exhaust pipe on the other one before she chased him off. And I was joking, saying that, like, well, you know what? He already got through like half of one of them. Let's actually just saw the other one off now. And then we will take the other one and sell it at the same place he is selling it at and get some money back from this this whole thing. And then we'll probably even run into the guy trying to sell the cat. We'll cut our other cat off, take that to the scrapyard, run into the other dude who's selling our other cat, and punch him in the face, then take our cat back. I don't know. But that said, catalytic converter thefts are on the rise. And, it's one of those things you hear about it every day in the news. And then it actually happens to you. And you're like, oh, wow. And, catalytic converters aren't cheap. And I'll delve into here real quick as well. If you're not familiar, get you up to speed on catalytic converters, by the way. They are a emissions-related device that is in the exhaust, and what they do is they scrub harmful emissions and things from the actual exhaust gases of the engine, and they do so through a chemical reaction with a number of very rare earth metals that exist in them. Famously, people recognize them for having platinum in them, but more importantly, and this is why the prices of these things have skyrocketed, is they have a metal in them known as palladium. And palladium, if you guessed it, comes from predominantly Russia. Yeah, and if you're aware of our current political climate here, that we're not really doing so much business with Russia now, and for obvious reasons. And so the net result of this, though, is palladium prices from the beginning of this year, January, were at $1,900 an ounce. And then this last week, Monday, they spiked to $3,400 an ounce. Yeah, so what's happening here? Catalytic converters, for one, have been continuously getting stolen more and more often. That has been happening because not even without the conflict in Russia, or rather in Ukraine with Russia, even without that, these prices have been steadily increasing over the past couple of years. And thieves are finding that it's a very profitable business venture because some catalytic converters, and reports are saying they get anywhere from $50 on the low end to $1,500 on the high end for a used catalytic converter, which a used one. But when you actually look at the price of some of these new catalytic converters, especially OEM ones, and they are touching the $3,000 mark for this little thing that you weld into your exhaust pipe. And the fact is they're very easily stolen because they are usually in the middle of your exhaust in a car, and they're sitting there, and all you need is a Sawzall and an electric saw, and you can get it out in a matter of minutes. The guy who got my mom's catalytic converter, he had the first one out in probably about a minute and a half. And which is pretty good time. Now, if he had been a real professional, he probably would have had him out even sooner. And you are seeing teams of thieves and stuff in different areas in the country. People are catching them on their security cameras. Some of these guys are prepared. They're not just, crackheads driving around grabbing a cat. Some of these guys, like teams of 4 or 5 dudes with several jacks, 2 guys with saws. They'll jack the car up real fast, get under there, and saw the cats out. Cats, plural. A lot of vehicles have 2 of these cats, by the way. Some have 1, but... and then they're out. They're like a pit crew, like a racing pit crew almost. And this guy who got my mom's catalytic converter wasn't so professional. Also, I find it amusing. The car he was driving was very clearly... It didn't have any exhaust on it. So I think he sawed his own catalytic converter off of his own car. Maybe someone else stole his, and he was stealing my mom so he could weld it in place in his car. I don't know. But the fact is, people ask too, well, where are they selling these things? What is the black market for these? Where's the secret underground of catalytic converter thefts? No, a lot of times these catalytic converter thieves are selling them to scrapyards and metal recyclers, which... people I've heard, say, well, what are they doing about this? How are they curbing it? There's nothing they can do because the fact is the catalytic converter is not a serialized part. It doesn't have a serial number. It doesn't have a VIN number on it either, identifying it to the vehicle. So there's no way to know if it's legit. And people, might say in response to that, well, why don't we just get anyone selling a catalytic converter? Well, the fact is there are plenty, if not more, legitimate businesses whose sole purpose is recycling cars, taking catalytic converters out and selling them legitimately to metal recyclers and scrapyards. And there's plenty of legitimate ones. And in fact, a lot of these so-called legitimate businesses who are selling legit cats, and they're an official business, they're registered with their state and everything, and they're taking this metal and taking it to a recycler. A lot of times, some of those guys are the guys doing it at night illegally, and then they're bringing them in and selling them with all the other legitimate catalytic converters they got from actual cars that they were, they bought and were parting out. So there's no good way to tee this off at the point of sale, at the very least. So I don't want to present a problem without a solution, but this is a very tough problem to have a solution to. because, the fact is the way catalytic converters are designed in cars right now makes them very easy to get. That said, mostly what's being targeted are high vehicles, tall vehicles, trucks, because what that allows you to do is not have to jack the car up, and you can just slide under there. The vehicle's tall enough, you can slide under, get a Sawzall, get that cat out without a whole lot of effort. So, and predominantly the catalytic converters on trucks are also larger, because presumably trucks have bigger engines and generate larger quantities of emissions, and therefore need a bigger catalytic converter to process all of that. And with that, though, again, what you can do about it, if you have a truck, try to, at the very least, what you can do is try to park maybe some other cars in your family around the vehicle in a tight way, install lights in your, driveway if you can, but sometimes you may not even have a driveway. You might live in an apartment. It's tough to say what you can do about that. The best thing, too, you could also probably do is get some aftermarket skid plates that cover up that area, because, sure, they can saw through the skid plates or whatever, right? Like, there's no, things like that keep honest people out, but the fact is that these catalytic converter thieves who are hitting one car after another, they're trying to do it fast because, the more they can get in a short period of time, the more money they can make. But also, the more they can get in a short period of time means that's the less time they have to get caught. And if you've got something like a skid plate in the way that's making it a little extra difficult to reach the cat and saw the pipes off next on the front and back of it, the exhaust pipe there, that at least will act as a deterrent. They might poke their head under there and be like, not that one. Let's keep moving. So, now, that said, or if you live in a place that doesn't require emissions, well, you are in luck because you don't need a cat. So take your cat off, sell it, and then you get the $1,500, and then no one can steal your cat and just weld the pipe in the place where the cat would go. Because the cat's not strictly necessary for the car's function. I mean, we didn't have catalytic converters on cars for a long time, and a lot of guys with performance cars tend to get rid of their catalytic converters, but some people aren't so fortunate that they live in a place that doesn't regularly test for emissions. Now, before I head out here, because this is one of those things that it's a bummer. I know catalytic converter thefts suck, but one thing that was funny, I'm going to play a sound clip here. If you've ever wondered what a Ford V10 Excursion, the V10 from like the mid 2000s and up, in those big excursions. If you ever wonder what that sounds like, I was working at a radio station about a year ago, different radio station than where I currently work, but I was working there, and we had our station vehicle. It was a big, like a 2003 Ford Excursion, and someone got the catalytic converter on it in the night, and to me, I had always wondered what that truck, it's got a V10, right? It's like a Viper. I'd always wondered what that sounds like without an exhaust, and finally one day I got to hear it. Here, check this out.
Road Beast's got some more growl to him today.
Smell that smell?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
Jesus.
Oh yeah, there you go. If you ever wondered what that sounds like, I mean, you probably haven't. I know I have, but I'm weird too. So there you go. I mean, look, I don't mean to be doom and gloom here. I don't mean to be that. It's tough to say what you can and can't do, to prevent the catalytic converter thefts again. It's not a very easily preventable thing if you park a vehicle outside at night and it's not a vehicle that you can put skid plates on, and it costs money to, get someone to weld a steel box around your cat, and probably costs less than replacing said catalytic converter, albeit. But, the whole thing here, just being vigilant, pointing this stuff out. If we can call the criminals out, if we get, video of them more and more often, I think they'll make it a little less desirable, a little more risky for them to perform these acts of crime. So hopefully that can curb this a little bit, and hopefully in due time as well, some of the political and economic things going on around these rare metals, platinum, palladium. And there are a dozen other metals in those cats that I didn't really get into for the sake of brevity. But point is, they're all expensive, and hopefully that stuff starts to kind of trend in a downward direction. So yeah, there you go. Be careful. Keep your head on a swivel. Watch your cats. And but hey, coming up next week on the show, I'm hoping to have some really good guests on. Once I lock that in, get that confirmed, you'll hear about it on the Automotive ADHD Facebook page, which is also where you can send your your car sounds in, be entered for a chance to win the $25 gift certificate and the questionable keychain. It's stylistic. It's good stuff. But, hey, I will see you same time, same place next week when I team up with Gene Wilder to bring back Frankenstein. I'll see you then.